YouTube, what is going on? We are back with another Genshin Impact video. We are literally playing Genshin Impact, and I wanted to go over these upcoming banners in 5.1. We have Xilonen in first half with Chiori, along with Nahida and Hu Tao. Loopar GG made this graphic. So I wanted to just give the basic breakdown and what I think is worth it and what is not worth it. Excuse me. Off rip, I'm not gonna lie to you, tackling the first half first. I already did put out a video on Xilonen. I do have a guide out on her already on the YouTube channel. I'll link it towards the end of it, so you want to go check it out. I pretty much go into best weapons, best teams, best artifact sets. Right there. Goodbye, Kaza support. It's being dragged out by a bunch of woo content right now, but pretty much, in my eyes, Xilonen is as close to a must-pull unit as possible. Shout out to ON Gaming. This is a compilation of the footage from the live stream. Xilonen is as close to a must-pull unit as possible due to the fact that they are going to be a staple in any mono team, period, and they do work with mono geo as well. So, for example, these two little crystals right here, if you have two of a certain element, hydro, pyro, electro, cryo, in the party, I believe that's the only ones that it works with, these crystals will change to that color. So, for example, two hydro people, it'll be two, hydro crystals. And that will buff pretty much hydro damage. You're going to get defense shred on the enemies, and then after that, you're going to do an ungodly amount of damage. So she buffs, not only does she buffs, she has healing incorporated into her kit, and she is just such a flexible unit. Also, with this whole Night Soul stance going on, like with the game, and how like she will synergize with all of these other pretty much Natlin characters. So if you plan on pulling for more Natlin units as well, I just don't know how this character is not a must pull. Now, she's just really good. She's just really good. Her artifact set is broken. She's gonna get 40% elemental damage on top of her buffing from her kit, which only needs to be activated from her skill and then 2 normal attacks. So 2 normal attacks, skilled 2 normal attacks, and that's it. And you get an ungodly amount of buff for X amount of time. We don't know the duration yet. We don't know the actual multipliers of it. But she really is raising the bar. The only team that she is not going to be better in than Kazuha is Tartaglia's team. Because technically speaking, that requires 2 Pyro characters and you'd be buffing Pyro as opposed to Hydro. Other than that, she's clear-cut 1. She's mainly going to be buffing Nuvolette and Navia. Realistically, like, the best team is probably going to be Nuvolette, Farina, Kaza, and her. And then for the Navia side, it'll be, Kazuha. Excuse me, not Kaza. My apologies. I just woke up. Xilonen. It'll be Benny, Shanglang, and a Navia, obviously. And so she's just overall a very solid unit that I think there is really no downsides to. She's also super simple to build. She really won't need a lot. I mean, you're pretty much going to talent prioritize her skill. She's going to need some defense. Most likely she is a defense scaling unit. And like I said, her burst gives you heals depending on the type of crystals that you have. So, the healing helps, but I don't even think that's a major factor of the selling point. Like, realistically, all you gotta do, in my opinion, is level up the talent, give her a little bit of defense, and she'll be a-okay. She's not gonna need anything too crazy. Obviously, if you're gonna be running 5, you're probably going to want to have some sort of decent crit ratio, but she is not going to be a source of damage. If you were building her as a DPS, you're honestly doing it wrong. So in my opinion, she has easily the highest pull value of all of these. After these, bro, like if I had to put a number to it, like I'm gonna pull up the snipping tool real quick. She is easiestly, she's number 1 for sure. Chiori's number 4. Chiori, unfortunately, is in the era of without Chiori C1, she's lacking substantially. So it's pretty unfortunate. Chiori is really tied to just mono geo teams. Now, you can make the argument like, oh, maybe you could use with Farina and stuff, and yes, you can. But at C0, if you do not have a geo construct, she does not get 2 puppets, and it's a very niche down character. If you like Chiori, I love that for you. Objectively, though, this is not the character to be pulling, especially if you're new to the game, if you have limited resources and you're free to play, and you don't like geo. Oh, excuse me, she's, technically speaking, she's a DPS. I think it's like a 10 to 15% buff than Albedo and Geo teams, but that requires running Geo. So I like Chiori, and I actually really like her kit, and I like her playstyle, but she is just not really there. Her pull value is the lowest out of everyone here. I believe she is dual scaling as well. It's nothing too crazy, but her C1 allows you to get 2 puppets instead of 1, even if there is no Geo construct on the floor. So if you had C1, it's a little bit different. Then you could run like Navia, Bennett, Shanglang with Chiori. However, why would you pull Chiori when you have Xilonen, who's going to be a better buff, especially to a Navia team, but also to most likely the Ito teams, because Xilonen is going to give you extra normal attack speed or normal attack damage, I believe, with Mono Geo. But Xilonen has the buffing, the alt heals. She's can use these new artifact sets. Her traversing is top tier. Like, I feel bad that they're running Chiori alongside her. It's just really not where it's at. So this would easily be, to me, the worst character of the bunch, unfortunately. I know it's going to get a lot of Geo lovers upset, but Chiori is just overall a victim of being stuck into that niche and hard body stuck. If they made it where her puppets were like both came up at C0, I think it would be a little bit of a different conversation, because she does work with Farina and whatnot, but you need a Geo construct, and honestly, having Ishii on the field to give like Ito a buff, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Just run Ito with like Farina and Bennett, you know what I'm saying? But whatever. So phase 2. This is interesting. So Nahida, in my opinion, would be number 2. Now Nahida, the meta has definitely changed quite a bit. Nahida is obviously the Dendro Archon, and she is still a very good unit. If you are running Hyper Bloom, or if you have a bunch of older units like Zincho, like Yelan, like Kuki, you could even run Farina. The Hydro App really isn't that great, but it's fine. If you have Clarin, if you have Fischl, Kazuha, you can do some pretty cool stuff with Nahida. Like Hyper Bloom, don't get it twisted. Hyper Bloom is still very good. It is very, very good still. It is not the best in slot anymore like it used to be, but it's still top tier. It is still top tier, and it is still goated. But it seems that they're going away from Nahida in the sense where these newer Dendro units don't really synergize with her that much. Kanich doesn't need Nahida. Emily does not need Nahida as well. They actually both work better together, but it seems in which that they're kind of going away from the Nahida usage. So I wouldn't say Nahida is a must pull in the way she was previously, but she is still a very solid pull. So her pull value is still up there because Hyperbloom still works. Even in this Abyss, you know what I mean? Like, the top half, it's not going to work. But you can use Hyperbloom in the bottom half, and you'll be chilling. You know what I'm saying? So there still is potential for Nahida to be a good character. They really still are also the best Dendro applicator in the game, and they're pretty simple to build. You could run Sack. You could really run anything. She just needs EM. She needs EM. She needs Deepwood. Dime. She needs EM. She needs Deepwood, and that is it. So build-wise, she's pretty simple. I mean, I don't even have her talents max. Get this up, and then you're calling it a day. So she's good, but she's not at the level she was previously. So I'm not going to say must pull, but a very, very strong pull. If someone said, Ethan, I'm pulling Nahida, I would say that's okay. It's not a bad option. It's not a bad option at all. Hu Tao is clearly going to be number 3, right? Obviously. Hu Tao is in a very interesting situation. A lot of people... I mean, Hu Tao was king of Pyro DPS for a very, very, very long time. And then Arlecchino came out. Arlecchino is the genuine, true definition of power creep. Arlecchino for EM teams requires less EM. There is literally 0 downtime with Arlecchino. She hits AoE targets. She hits single targets. She works with not just vapes. She could work with Mono Pyro. She could work with Chevruth. I mean, Arlecchino absolutely gutted Hu Tao. And the thing with Hu Tao is not that you need Staff of Homa, because you don't need Staff of Homa. You could run something like Dragon's Bane. You could run something like Ballads if you had that, Primordial, whatever the case may be. But Hu Tao really, honestly needs a good weapon and some sort of constellation or Shanyun to function properly, especially for mobile players. That's 3 coughs, bro. I don't know what's happening out here, but I'm gonna edit it out. You have to deal with it. So, in my opinion, while Hu Tao is still a good unit, and I still use Hu Tao and viewer abysses all the time. If you have Hu Tao, that's an easy unit to clear things with. Hu Tao's team selection is limited. And again, without C0, you have to do jump canceling, which is a pain on mobile. I don't mind jump canceling personally, but whatever, I don't play on mobile. But then if you have C1, you have to do dash canceling. And then if you don't have Shanyun, if you have Shanyun, and you have Farina, you could do the plunging attack, which is fine. But there's just so many circumstances to get Hu Tao to reach their optimal master peak that it's like at that point you might as well just skip for Arlecchino. Personally, especially if you're a newer player, I would not recommend going for Hu Tao. They can be complicated. Arlecchino is way more free to play friendly and just overall a better unit and easier to build. So I think, unfortunately, Hu Tao falls in the section of, it's not that they're not bad, but the other character just outshines them to the point where it's not even worth it. And again, all of the characters Hu Tao can use, you can use with Arlecchino, other than Shanyun, and make it better. So there's so many circumstances surrounding Hu Tao where it's like the pull value is just unfortunately not as high as what it used to be. So, in my humbly professional opinion, because I'm the greatest of all time, I think you go Xilonen. Even if you're new to the game, I think Xilonen is still a very safe pick for you. And obviously, professionals who have a million characters, I still think Xilonen is great as well. You have Kaz on one side, you have Xilonen on the other side. She just has the most value out of everyone. Chiori would be a super duper hard skip. This is like a yes, and this is, in my opinion, a skip as well. So I think these are the two. But again, even this one is kind of like, Nahida. If you don't like Denjo, or if okay, I don't have Zincho, I don't have Yelan, I don't have all these other people for Hyper Bloom, I don't have Clarind to do the quicken or aggravate, whatever. Nahida, I think, is a skip as well. So I think realistically, this banner is pretty easy in terms of pull value, because it's not like we have 3 units that are like, okay, these are viable. Like, it's not a bad banner like that, like how it was a new Vlet Kaza banner or something crazy like that. So that is realistically how I'm looking at this upcoming banner. Again, we have a Xilonen guide out, and let me know what you think. If you need any other advice, we do abyss clears, all that good stuff. I love you. I'll see you in the next one. Mwah. Yamada.